Hi again. So let's start with the first part of this series, which is going to address two topics about the ACE3 controllers, which are the ROM and the issue of touch. So first, a quick thing about why is there a relationship with touch? Well, it's something that people, very early when the iPhone 15 came out, and people started getting defective ACE3 controllers. Then they tried to change them, and then they realized that after you changed it, well, first you had no touch, which was weird, but you also had no charging and no USB communication whatsoever. And then they realized that when you reinstall the ROM, when you also transplant the ROM from the donor board to the recipient board, which was defective, but which you're trying to fix, then you would get touchback and you would get charging and USB communication again. So first, touch is quite easy to explain. The relationship with touch is quite easy to explain. This can be seen here from the schematic. You have a signal here that's called IO ACE to touch AID. So what is it used for? This I cannot tell, but all I can tell you is that this is the relationship between a touch and the USB-C controller. And we already had actually touch and lightning issues in the past on previous models. For example, on the 13 Pro, 13 Pro Max, 12 Pro Max. If the Kraken IC, which was the USB control IC, the equivalent of the ACE but for lightning, if that IC was defective, then you could lose touch on these devices. But for some reason, you didn't have the problem on the 12 and the 13, for example. But so this is the fact that there's a relationship between touch and the USB control IC is not news. Anyway, so somehow, in order for touch to work, the ACE, the USB IC has to be booted and working. And it will send this analog signal. So AID, I believe, stands for analog ID. I'm not sure. The A, I'm sure, is for analog. ID, I'm not certain, but I believe it's identification. And this, if it's missing, it will disable touch. So this is to explain the relationship between the USB control IC and the touch. So thank you, Apple, for making it that touch doesn't work if the if the USB subsystem doesn't work. But anyway, now what about the ROM? The ROM. Let me see. So first, here's the board, and the ACE controller is here, the ROM is right here. What does the ROM contain? It contains basically the program that the ACE should run when it's booting. So the ACE is a microcontroller, an ARM-based Cortex M0 from what I've found, and inside of the chip itself, inside of the ACE chip itself, there is something that's called the boot code. And the boot code is like the first instructions that the chip should run when it's starting. This is not enough for getting it fully working. The boot code will then direct it to the ROM, which is this U9720, which contains what's called the application code, and which is like all the functions that the ACE should execute. So why is there a need for an external ROM? Well, that's because on controllers, usually the inside flash is not reprogrammed. So, but if we want to change its behavior, or if we want to update it, or if we find that there's like some security vulnerability in the way it works, well, there needs to be a way to update what the chip does, and this is why we have an external flash. So in order for the chip to fully function, it needs itself to be functional, but it also needs to have an external flash which contains the correct application code. And if that application code is like absent or not or unreadable, or if the ACE chip doesn't execute it, then it will not work. It's basically like you have a Windows computer and you're just booting from the BIOS, and the BIOS cannot find the operating system, and so your computer doesn't work. It's basically the same thing. So what I would like to explore here is what happens if we have, say, a defective ROM, or if we replace the ROM. So I'm going to do this on this device, and we're gonna see. But before doing it, I would like for us to notice a few interesting things. So first, now the device is it's on. Let me change the view. So it's on. I'm going to first show you how it is detected by the computer. So here in the Finder, it appears as iPhone, and it is like trying to activate. It's probably gonna fail because the device is iCloud locked. It shows up as iPhone 15 Plus, and that's it. Now, I don't get the serial number. If I open 3U Tools, 3U Tools hopefully will detect. Okay, it's going to detect it, and it's going to give me much more information about the device. So here, all the abnormal ones, because I didn't connect the cameras because I don't need them for what I'm doing. But it's going to tell me that it's an iPhone 15 Plus. It's going to show me the serial number, the IMEI, and all kinds of information about the device. All right, so now I'm going to put this iPhone in recovery mode. Right, and now that I put it in recovery mode, this is what happens. So I get the Finder pops up something that tells me that it detected the phone in recovery mode. It gives me, so I get the serial number, and I get the options to update or to restore the iPhone. I can also look at the information in 3U Tools. Here I get a little bit more information. I get the model, which the Finder doesn't give me. And of course the serial number and some other stuff here, and the option to go and flash it and stuff. Also something that I should have showed you before, but I'll do it here. So if I if I try to list the USB devices on my computer, here I will see Apple mobile device in recovery mode. So the mode is correctly detected, and it's gonna give me here serial number. Yeah, serial number shows up. All right. And now I'm going to try and put it in DFU mode. So this is tricky. I might have to try multiple times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. No, it worked. Good. So now it's in DFU mode. The Finder detects it as iPhone, but doesn't give me any information about the serial number or anything. iPhone DFU mode. I only have the option to restore it. I cannot update it. Restore means erasing it. And that's basically it. Now, I get a little bit more information in 3U tools. It shows DFU mode, but here I get at least the model number, and I get something called the ECID, which is the probably another device identifier. And I can flash, but actually 3U tools gives me the option to update, which means to keep the data that's on the phone. And this actually works. If you ever tried it, it actually works. Now, let me see here how it is detected by my computer. Here, now it shows up, oh, here in something that's called port DFU mode. And here I get like the ECID also that shows up. But this is what's interesting here. Port DFU mode, whereas here it shows up as DFU mode. And this is a difference with previous devices. Like devices that use Lightning, when they were put in DFU mode and connected to the computer, here they would show up as DFU mode. So that is one thing that's noticeable. So now what I'm going to do is take apart this phone, and I'm going to simulate replacing the ROM only, because we have two moving parts. One moving part, which is the ACE, but we also have the ROM. So we want to change one thing at a time and see how it influences the behavior of the device. So I'm gonna try and make this quick. There you go. And in order to, so of course this ROM is not defective, so I don't really need to replace it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to rewrite it, like put some garbage information in it. I'm going to just blank it. So let's remove this. All right. Let's put it in my programmer. So I'm using a CH341A, like very cheap SPI programmer. This is what it looks like. And here, so before programming it, I'm going to make a backup of it, just in case we lose the contents. So and I'm going to call it iPhone 15 Plus original, and I'm going to index it with a number with the ACE serial number. So which is 42A7LK8. So it says no. Get this one. No EEPROM flash device found. Okay, so maybe it's not correctly inserted. This should be good. Let's try again. Ah, there you go. It just was not connected properly. All right. So I did copy it. Now I'm going to erase it. Okay, so erase write done from 0 to FFF, so very good. Taking it out, and now I'm going to reinstall it. Okay. So I'm just slightly annoyed because like it seems like my OBS is lagging, which is kind of annoying. So I'm sorry about that. Let me see. Oh, I don't know if it's OBS or if it's the computer that's lagging, but no, I mean it doesn't seem like. Well, so I don't know. let me, okay, let me interrupt and start again. Let the restart the computer. Just a second. Okay, so it seems like it's when I'm recording, it's lagging. It didn't happen before, and I think it's because I installed Tahoe on this device, which is apparently a big mistake. So anyway, here's our iPhone 15 Plus that we replaced we blanked the SPI ROM on it. So before putting it back inside the device, I would like to show you something because it will save me time later. I'm just going to unplug, give it a screen. Install screen, install the battery, and show you a few things that happen. So I'm connecting it. I'm going to show you my display right away. Right. Oh, no. So I'm connecting the device right now, the charging port right now. And there you go. As soon as I connect it, my Mac has detected an iPhone in DFU mode. But if you look here, the iPhone is actually starting and it doesn't seem to be in DFU mode. And I did put the screen in order to show you that touch is actually working, which seems to be contradictory with the information I gave you before, and which is the information that's all over the internet, that when the ACE controller cannot boot, you will not get touch. We'll see that it's actually a bit more subtle than this. So anyway, we have touch working. We have a phone that's detected as a DFU device. If I turn on 3U tools, it does show up as a iPhone 15 Plus in DFU mode. And if let me see if I see what how it shows up on my computer. It shows up as port DFU mode. So again, this same thing as before, port DFU, but it is not in DFU mode. I can interact with it. It's completely turned on. So I'm now going to, now that I showed you what I wanted to show you, I'm disconnecting it from battery, and I'm going to put it back inside the housing. Where's my housing? There it is. All right. So now let's see what happens. So again, immediately here, let me show you my screen. It's immediately detected as a device in DFU mode, even though it is turning on and booting. It seems to work, but I have no touch anymore, which is weird because I just showed you that I had touch on the other screen. And here is why it was important that I had a phone with the original parts on it, because this is an original screen. The screen that I just connected it with just before is an aftermarket. This one comes from like Mobile Centrics. I think it's called like XO7 something. But on this one, the touch works. So what happened right now is the ROM is blank. So the ACE cannot boot. So it's not sending this ACE to touch AID thing, and therefore touch is not working, but only on the original screen. Aftermarket screens, for some reason, don't ask me why, don't seem to need this don't need to need this AID signal. I forgot to connect my mic. I hope the sound was good enough. So this completely addresses the touch issue, meaning that if you want to say you have an ACE chip that doesn't work and for this reason you don't have touch, well, with another screen that's not an original Apple screen, you will recover touch. At least with this screen, the Mobile Centrics XO7 whatever. Soft OLED. So I of course I didn't test all the screens. I just tested the one that I have, and which is a soft OLED from Mobile Centrics. All right. So now we have a phone that shows up in DFU mode. Well, the natural question would be, what happens if I flash it? So let's see. So notice again, it is not in DFU mode. Normally, a device that's not in DFU mode should not accept to be flashed. But let's try it. So I'm going to do this, and there you go. So wait, before flashing it, so what else do I want to show you? So we did see that there's no touch, and we did see already that in 3U tools it is detected as an iPhone in DFU mode. So I cannot like transfer files, I cannot make a backup, I cannot do anything with it except maybe flash it. And if I connect it to a charger, it will not charge. This is kind of natural because the ROM is blank, so the ACE3 cannot boot, so it cannot function. Now let's restore it. All right, so it did its thing and it did restore the phone. So the restore went successfully. Now, so you can see that the phone is booting. It's gonna take a while. Let's see. Oh, and now you see now USB is working, which means that now the ACE3 has booted completely. So it seems like doing the restore did flash the ROM, which was blank, and reinstalled the proper firmware for it. Which is actually interesting because it means that, and this is the first point I wanted to make, is that if you have a device on which so everything is working except that the ROM is defective, well, all you have to do in order to recover the correct contents of the correct firmware, all you have to do is replace the ROM with a blank one and flash it, because it's going to be detected in DFU mode, and like I just did, you will get USB functionality again. I want to show you also that we get touch working, so I'm going to wait for it to boot completely. Now, the question that you might have is, so, but if I restore it in DFU mode, it's going to wipe the contents of the phone. And that is correct if you do it from the Finder, or if you do it from iTunes. So you will lose the data. However, if you flash it from 3U Tools with the option to keep the data, then it will flash completely. The firmware for the ACE3 will be recovered and you will not lose the data. Of course, if the flash fails for some other reason, that means the device has another problem, then of course data will be lost. But anyway, let's see. But what I wanted to say is that with what I just showed you with the aftermarket screen, it makes it so that you are still able to recover data, because touch in fact works with an aftermarket screen. It just doesn't work with the original screen. So if you're in that situation where touch doesn't work because of a defective ACE3 ROM, then you just need to put an aftermarket screen and then do your backup. So of course you'll say, oh, but USB doesn't work, so how do I do my backup? This is completely irrelevant, because nowadays all the devices have by default the stolen device protection activated. So you will not be able to do the, even if USB worked, you would not be able to do the backup through USB, because you would need the customer to be present and to use its face to authenticate through Face ID and blah blah blah. And so anyway, since you got touch and the rest of the device works, you have Wi-Fi, you will be able to transfer whatever pictures. It's going to be a bit of a hassle, but you will be able to transfer data. There is a way to transfer data. I'm not saying it's the most convenient, but you can transfer data. Otherwise, if you want to risk a flash, you can flash with 3U Tools, and then from DFU mode, and with the option to keep the data, and you will be able to have a functioning device. And then if you want to go through the hassle of Face ID authentication to bypass the stolen device protection, then you can do that, and you will be able to save the data through USB. Anyway, so the phone is now finally turned on, and see, touch came back. So we got all the functionality back from the device. with starting with a blank ACE3 ROM. Now, there's one last question that's interesting, that would be interesting to know is what did the restore? It flashed a firmware onto the chip. Is that firmware the same as original, or is it updated or something? Well, we're gonna check that right away. So, okay, works. Let's do this. So we're going to extract the ROM again, and we're going to read it and compare it to the backup that I already made before. So let me. All right. So let's. There you go. So I'm going to read it, and now I'm going to call it after flash. There you go, it's done. So now I do have two backups, two copies of the ROM. So this one, the one that's just called .dump, this was the original one before any of these shenanigans. And then this is the one which I just made after flash. We're going to compare them. So the easiest way for me to compare them is to compute their MD5 and see if they're different or identical. So let's see, MD5 of the original one. There you go, and MD5 of the one after blanking the chip and then restoring the phone. So they seem to be different. All right, so Apple did restore the correct firmware for the ACE3, but it replaced it by something else. So if you're wondering what it looks like, it's completely pointless to try and look at it, because this is what it looks like. It's just binary code, which is most probably a binary code for ARM processors. So in order to understand what it means, you would have to decompile it and whatever. But so anyway, here is the conclusion of that experiment, is that you can recover the contents of the ACE3 ROM just by doing a flash. So if your ROM is defective, you replace it by another one coming from another device. Of course, the contents will not be good for your ACE3, but the device will be detected in DFU mode. And if you restore it either with iTunes Finder, which will delete data, or if you restore it with 3U tools, which allows you to conserve the data, you will recover the contents, the correct firmware for the ACE3. And touch is not an issue either, because by using an aftermarket screen, you can get touch even if the ROM is not matched to the ACE3. So anyway, I hope this was interesting. Thank you for watching. And in the next video, I guess I will be trying to put the ACE3 from this board onto another iPhone 15 Plus board, and we will see what happens. All right, thank you for watching again.